this year has just been such a shit show that it's in there.
Yeah, so I'm going to say this, like, most of my issues with it do come from an aesthetic standpoint, because I remember thinking about, you know what, there was some, like, Charlie Kaufman-esque picture hiding underneath the veneer here.
Oh, do you think so?
I think there is. Like, there is some, like, genuine, like, I am unable to connect with the world around me-ness about it.
Mm.
But the problem is it's all through this, like, really, like, cliche veneer of a high school movie. Like I said this in text messages, like, you have, like, the awkward Asian boy who can never communicate to save his life, and then he has just the most perfect six-pack you could ever imagine. And, like, they go to the high school, and it's this immaculately prepared thing. There's these massive hallways and so forth. They go to a pet land. It looks like a palace. And, like,
to be fair, pet lands do actually look like that.
Not ours. Not the ones I've been to. Oh, yeah, I think there was, like, this troubling, and I think there was one point where the movie kind of makes mention of that artifice. Because I think there's one point where the mother says, like, oh, the best way to get past the suffering is just to ignore it and pretend. And I think, like, yeah, that's getting at something, but I don't think the movie really is really ready to commit to it. I'm going to say this. Juno has a worse script, but had a much better director.
Hmm.
Because there's, like, that, yes, as much as quirky, as annoyingly quirky as that movie was, I get the feeling that, like, that's a real house. These are real parents. That's a real school. Mm. This place exists somewhere. Mm. It's nowhere near me, but it does exist somewhere.
In upper middle class Minnesota, I guess.
Yes.
Sure. Whatever. Well, I'm not going to debate you about Juno again, but I think it's a superior movie in every way. But I don't know. I still would tacitly recommend The Edge of 17. But
because I will say, like, there is, like I said, like, there is something in there. I'm like, okay, like, there's something here. Like, there's a base that they're working off of, but, like, it's just being suffocated by the standards of, like, a typical. Was this an independent movie?
I think so. It's distributed by, like, STX Entertainment. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm like, yeah, this is an independent movie, but it has, like, a lot of the flaws of, like, a Hollywood teen movie. Mm-hmm. I'm finding. I'm like, did this direct? Like, is this a first-time director?
I believe so.
Like, I believe this is someone, like, she doesn't really seem to have, like, maybe she just doesn't have the power to fight back. Like, no, I don't want beautiful people in my movie about sad and pathetic people. No, I don't want this high school to look immaculate. God damn it, do we have to kill the father?
Well, I mean, she wrote it, so I'm not sure there was, like... I'm not sure how much there was, like, studio pressure or anything.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess I watched a recent video with Jon Stewart, and he was talking about, like, when early on in the Daily Show, people complained about the diversity in his cast, and at one point he said, like, if you tell your agent, no matter who your agent is, go find me the best writers, they're just going to give you a room full of white men. Mm. So you literally have to say that, no, give me some women you got in that pipeline, give me some black people got in that pipeline, that sort of thing. Whereas this, you have to say, like, no, don't give me all the beautiful people. Give me an ugly person. Give me an ugly actress once in a while.
Well,
I wouldn't be harping on that, but I do think that, like, how people look and appearances in this movie are a big thing.
Well,
and that creates a genuine cognitive dissonance.
Well, unless you do, like, the Richard Linklater thing of just, like, finding, like, random people in Texas to, like, be in your movie, it's like, it's going to be very hard to find, like, non-attractive actors just kind of floating around Hollywood.
Oh yeah, like I guess, and that's the thing. This is not a movie. This is not a problem that is specific to The Edge of 17. It just seemed rather egregious for what this movie is. Mm. Because yeah, I know that's a problem in a lot of movies. Like every movie we watch has like beautiful people, and no matter what roles they're in. Ah, Jesus.
Except for the Coen Brothers, which we'll get to.
Yeah, it doesn't mind if people look kind of gnarly and ugly. We got John Goodman in an eye patch. people was so caked in dirt, they think they're black.
Yep.
I love Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh, okay. I think you're going to end up probably liking this movie more than I did, but...
Oh, you had issues with it.
Not issues necessarily. It's one of those things where, like, there was nothing bad about it, but, like, I was not enraptured.
I will say this, I think a lot of our because I think Oh Brother, Where Art Thou might fall into the thing of that it's a good comedy, so it might be hard to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So I might just veer off into talking about Hudsucker Proxy and A Serious Man. Are we ready, kids?
Yes, I actually been recording for like the last 5 minutes, so I have some of your thoughts.
Oh, good. My thoughts on the masterwork of 2016, The Edge of 17.
Hey, you made some valid points.
I hope so. Like I'm not going to get angry at it because I don't think it's a movie worth getting angry at.
It's certainly not a movie most people would talk about for 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, well, Reed wanted to see it. Well, I wanted to go see the new Robert Zemeckis movie, Allied.
Oh, yes.
But then, like, he had some bullshit where there were some shoplifters running around his outlet mall, so he couldn't leave until after Allied started. So I'm like, oh, fuck, I'll just go see Edge of 17. Which is, the time we could get to the theater was the only reason we didn't see Moana.
All right. Well, I have to say I highly recommend Moana. I will talk about that momentarily. But this is the Hack Fraud Show, just to get that out of the way. Just the two of us today.
Again.
Yeah. Everyone else is suffering from post-Thanksgiving comas, I guess. Not actually.
You know, fuck, I worked 20 hours in 3 days.
Ugh. Yikes.
What have we been watching?
Well, as I said, I had the fortune to see the Disney's Moana, featuring music by the ever-constant bright spot among the shithole of 2016, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Jesus, he seems to be doing a lot of shit after Hamilton blew up and now he's everywhere.
He's a very busy man, yes. Hamilton has propelled him to superstardom in a way that Broadway shows usually don't with people.
No, I think that's part of what's so like Hamilton is so huge it is broken far beyond the musical theater mix of people.
Yeah. But anyway, Moana, directed by Disney stalwarts Ron Clements and John Musker of The Little Mermaid and Aladdin fame. They knock it out of the park once again. Moana takes place in like the Polynesian islands, I believe.
That because it was kind of vague on what exactly.
I think it's Polynesia, somewhere in there. I'm not sure the island itself is like a real island, but this is we've officially reached the point where Disney is like respecting other cultures. So it's
right. You know what? In this year. All the hats off for that. Like, you're really sticking to your guns. And you know what? I hope they continue to do that. I hope they... You know what? Fuck it. I hope they make a movie set with African culture next.
That would be good. I would very much appreciate that. No, but it follows a... she's not really a princess, but she kind of is, because like she's the daughter of like the tribe chief or something. Anyway, she's basically a princess. The newest Disney princess, Moana... there's some like mystical kind of stuff going on, like that's like poisoning the island, and she has to go on a quest to like find this demigod and get him to like return this artifact. It's a fairly basic hero's journey narrative, but goddamn, it is so much fun and great characters. Like Moana is like a real 3-dimensional character. She has doubts, she has successes and failures. She has things that she's good at, she has things that she's not so good at. She genuine moments of growth. Likewise with Maui, this demigod that she finds, voiced by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
I was kind of worried about that. It's like, okay, we have all the things, and then we have this demigod with the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson eyebrow.
Oh, no, he is a lot of fun and very very charming. The Rock is a very charming guy. I think he will. He acquits himself very nicely.
Okay, that's good. I was kind of worried about that.
He even has a musical number that is actually very good. I think I'm calling it right now. I'm pretty sure "You're Welcome" is going to win the Oscar for Best Original Song.
How does it compare to Zootopia, you think? I know, like, it's just as far as quality's sake.
They're good in different ways. I really liked Zootopia. I think I might like it more just because it plays into my sensibilities a little bit more. Like, this is more like a classic Disney story. Okay. And, like...
So this is, like, back to the... Like, this is kind of like an extension of, like, Frozen and all the princess movies. And
yeah, sort of. But still, like, very intelligent and very, like, empowering. And very feminist, which is all great. I just think Zootopia is like something that Disney only could have made like in this current period. It's a very postmodern kind of thing, and I really appreciate that aspect of Disney. Like I loved Wreck-It Ralph. That might be my favorite Disney movie of like the last 10 years. So suffice it to say, Moana's great. I also I think I might like Zootopia just a little bit more, but it is very close. I need to watch Zootopia again.
Yeah, like, after all the recent events, I mean, like, how does it... Because, like, I've tried to tell people, it's like, no, it's not just about racism, it's about genuine race relations. Mm-hmm. That's the core of it. It's not just like the don't be racist bullshit again. And I think because of that, I think it will, despite a lot of its more modern trimmings, I think that movie will stand the test of time.
I think so too. I think that's a movie that's going to be a very good movie to show to kids, especially over the next 4 years and in the future as well.
Indeed. What have I been seeing outside of, like, I've already displayed some of my thoughts on this. Is it called Best of 17 or
Edge of 17?
Edge of 17. Fuck. Other than that, like, I think because we haven't had school this week, so I haven't been forced to sit down and watch some movies, except for the ones for this podcast. So yeah, I think all I really saw was Edge of 17.
I don't think I saw anything else in theaters this week.
What the fuck else is there?
I talked about Manchester by the Sea in the last one.
You talked about Manchester by the Sea, like what the fuck else is there? Because won't be able to see La La Land for a while. Yeah. Allied, I've heard mixed things about. I'm probably not going to see that. Shit. Like I remember last year, just at this time of year, just being chock full of movies to go see. Mm-hmm.
No, yeah. You really have to kind of dig deep for things that are worth seeing right now. Unless you want to see Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
I assume you haven't seen that.
I still have not seen that. I will probably end up not seeing it, which I am perfectly fine with at this point.
Yeah, you're probably fine. Hey, if you want to, I'm kind of tempted just to show like 3 different people that movie and see what its effects on their mind it is. It's like will this movie create epilepsy-like symptoms? Because Jesus Christ, that movie's just edited like a trailer. Because that's everything I remember from Fantastic Beasts is shit that's in the trailer, or stuff I think was that in the trailer? That looks like it was from the trailer. It's edited like it was in a trailer.
Yeah.
I'm still very confused about that movie.
Yeah. Well, Darren Franich saw La La Land. I think he might have been to the screening that I was not able to attend. He had some brief glowing things to say about it. I think if that movie was enough to win over Mr. Darren Franich, I think that movie may be as great as people are claiming that it is.
Yeah, I really want to see Moonlight still.
Oh, like yes. Highly recommend.
Yeah, the more I hear about it, this movie seems fascinating. But I think beyond that, do we want to talk about what we actually saw this week?
Well, one more thing I just want to mention. I also watched a movie called Frank, which came out a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, the Michael Fassbender movie.
Yes, this movie was directed by the same guy who directed Room, which was one of my favorite movies of last year. It's a very strange movie. Honestly, I just want to mention that I saw it because some people like really love it. I really did not know what to think.
Some critics, the critics I really respect, really love Frank. Like Darren Franich really likes Frank. Narcomo, the critic I listen to, he really loves Frank. I think he put it as like, well, was Frank 2014?
I think so.
I think he put Frank as his best of 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting.
In a year that was quite good.
It's a well-made movie. Michael Fassbender is great, as always, especially considering the fact that he spends most of the movie inside a giant papier-mâché head.
That's what people say, like, he's the best thing about the movie. He spends the entire fucking movie in a mask.
Yeah, it's a very strange movie. I really don't know what to think about it, quite honestly. We
all have those movies.
I think people should watch it because it's very interesting, and I don't know that there's ever really been another movie like it. And there probably never will be again. So, watch it, but I really cannot put my feelings about Frank into words.
Granted, I come around those movies quite often, where it's like, I'm not quite sure what to make of it. But you know what? I really want other people to watch it so I could talk about it with them.
Yeah.
Like that sounds, from what you're saying, that sounds like what I'd say about Frank.
I mean, I'm waiting for my friend who recommended it to me to get back so he can yell at me and tell me why I should love this movie. Well, let's shall we get into our assignments for the week? No,
I'd adore that.
All right. What do we want to talk about first? Because this week we watched 2 films by directors that we rather like.
Yes.
That we had, I had seen Children of Men before, but you had not.
I haven't seen it.
And then
you had seen, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
No, we had not seen Oh Brother, Where Art Thou. That was a Coen Brothers movie that I'd been meaning to watch for a long time and never had.
Let's start with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou. It's the one I recently finished.
All right. I watched this one on Thanksgiving. I watched this one on Thanksgiving, so it's been a few days, but
I watched. I think I watched Children of Men on a Wednesday.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? The most you typically hear about this movie is when people try to teach you about color editing.
That is true. This was like...
And anytime people talk about color editing, they say, like, oh Brother, Where Art Thou is where it all began.
Yeah.
Like, and I think, like, Roger Deakins tells the story of, like, I want it to be this color. Fuck it. Just go into the digital editing and change it.
Yes, this was the first major movie to be, like, fully, color graded digitally in post. And,
it all looks like a sepia-toned photo, that sort of thing.
Right, which is something that's done very extensively now.
Mm-hmm.
So, also, I think, fun little fact, it was, like, the first movie to be, like, to fully use, like, a digital intermediate. It beat Chicken Run, like, narrowly in that regard. Chicken Run is rather delightful. I rewatched that recently for some reason. I do not know why.
I can't remember the last time I've seen Chicken Run.
That was one of those movies that, like, they would re-release in theaters occasionally for whatever reason. Like, every year. Like
I saw that in theaters.
I saw it in theaters also. Like, very strange.
I admire that studio a lot, and I love... Oh, Jesus, we're already talking about fucking Chicken Run.
Hey,
okay, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It stars George Clooney.
Yes.
By the Coen Brothers.
Written and directed by the Coen Brothers, starring George Clooney, John Turturro, and Tim Blake Nelson as 3 prisoners who break out of a chain gang to go in search of treasure, which George Clooney's character, Everett, I believe, claims to have buried. So this movie's like a loose riff on the Odyssey, I believe. Like in the credits, it says it's based on the Odyssey by Homer.
The moment I saw that, I'm like, well, I'm not a very good college student. I haven't read the Odyssey. Have you?
Neither have I, but apparently neither have the Coen Brothers. Like seriously, like they said that they like just kind of based it on like all the aspects of the Odyssey that had like fallen into popular culture.
Yeah, so I can't really speak to it insofar as that. Maybe Warner would have had something to say. I don't know. But other than that, like, yeah, it's loosely based on that. It kind of falls under, I think, the typical Coen Brothers. Like the Coen Brothers kind of have this fixation with the American South.
Mm-hmm.
I think, or at least like this idealized version of the American South.
I see it more as like middle America.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, like, I'm just thinking like things like No Country for Old Men and this, like these are very much the Deep South.
Yeah. Where does this movie take place? I don't remember if they ever...
Mississippi.
Oh, right.
Because you have like the person running for governor.
Yeah. I forgot.
Sweet Mississippi clean.
Right. Okay. So yes, Mississippi. Anyway, they get into a series of rather episodic misadventures.
Mm-hmm.
Along the way, they become an unexpected folk song hit. Yeah,
with that's not George Clooney singing. I don't think that's any of them singing. No. That's one thing I noticed. That, like, there's a lot of music in this movie, and anytime people sing, it all sounds like it's recorded in a music studio.
Yeah.
Like, none of it sounds like it's actually on location. Even the fucking Klan rally, it sounds like it's in a studio.
A bit, yeah. But, you know, when you have John Turturro and Tim Blake Nelson making gloriously exaggerated facial expressions, singing into a tin can microphone, it's hard to complain about that.
Oh, no, I love it. I fucking love George Clooney. What the fuck George Clooney's doing with his eyes as he sings in that scene. Yeah, like, the more I watch the Coen Brothers, the more I realize, you know what? I really love George Clooney. I just love I love George Clooney. That's just a niche I have.
He's a delightful man.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think you said you really liked this movie.
I do.
I did enjoy it. There's a lot of good stuff in it. The scene at the Klan rally is what is it with directors and making humorous scenes out of KKK gatherings? But
you know what the Klan subplot of the movie reminded me of? Foreigner, the play.
Oh, yes.
Because like you have the character who's like the pastor who's a secret member of the KKK.
Yeah, I thought of that too. But boy, you know, we're so good at this escapism thing, aren't we? We pick a movie with a Klan rally in it, as well as a movie about a totalitarian government deporting illegal immigrants. Just wow.
Yeah, no, we'll get to this in Children of Man. But like, if 2 years ago, I would have said like, oh, these movies are incredibly ham-handed and really on the nose about their imagery and what they're evoking. Now I just say, yeah, that's kind of perfect. Nothing wrong here.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But anyway, so I did like this movie, and certainly enjoyed like isolated elements of it. But I was not like kind of sucked into it the way that a lot of Coen Brothers movies just tend to suck me in. Like, no matter how many times I see The Big Lebowski, I'm always just like 100% there with that movie. That being,
I would say like I don't think this is like it's some of the more well-known work because of the color grading stuff, but I'm not gonna quite hold it amongst their very best. Like I don't think it's as funny as a Big Lebowski. I don't think it's as mind-bending as a No Country for Old Men. And I'm gonna say this, like, and this is something you have to say like anytime you see a Coen Brothers movie for the first time, especially considering I just saw this movie like 2 hours ago. It's like, take what I say with a grain of salt. Because if Coen Brothers movie, you really have to either just see it a bunch of times or just really think about it.
Well,
because right now I can only say I enjoy it on the level of, hey, it's a really nice comedy with some great performers.
Well, I was about to say, like, yeah, like almost every Coen Brothers movie, like when I've watched it a second time, I've enjoyed it a lot more. Like the Coen Brothers, they almost demand like to be seen multiple times. So it's highly possible I could come back to this movie like a ways down the road and like come to love it the way I did with Big Lebowski.
Yeah. But so as of right now, I think like I found like all its set pieces wildly entertaining. Like I love Like, here's something that the Coen Brothers do that I like, and it's over the top and it's melodramatic, but I think it really gives their films a sense of character. Like, they'll give like character, like this is a thing you identify them by. Like with John Goodman, you have the eye patch. With George Clooney, you have like he's always obsessed with his hair, and the others the others become like fixated with are really religious, that sort of thing. And, like you have the one politician with the fucking midget. I mean, like all of that's over the top, all of that's melodramatic. But guess what? It really lends you a sense of character. I find those kind of touches really endearing, and the film is just full of that sort of thing. Like this, like you have the fucking radio, the radio show. Not really announced, was he just kind of runs the radio station there? Yeah. Like he has like he has the two lazy eyes, and is always going. Like the characters are really identifiable. You can always tell people apart, which is something that doesn't get enough praise because, like sometimes in a lot of movies, characters can just blend into each other and that sort of thing.
I think you're right. Like even in the Coen Brothers' worst movie, I think the world and like the characters just have a ton of personality, and that's something that should really not be overlooked.
Like, here's the thing about, like, I don't think Blood Simpler is their best work by far. But, damn it, I can tell every one of those characters apart. I think they all have distinct identities. Even if they don't fucking talk in the scene, you can clearly tell, like, what their motivation is and what they want. I think, like, the Coen Brothers are, like, just the masters of, like, because their stories are really loose and really all over the place. They really don't, at the very least, they never feel like 3-act structures. You know, like a lot of their films will follow it to a certain extent. But like the characters they build and the world they build is just really strong and really distinct. Yeah. And I think that lends it a power that just a bunch of other filmmakers try and fail. I think that it's a good comedy. What more can you really say? There's not really that much you could say about it until you do a deep dive into it.
You know, it's hard for me to tell whether there's like anything kind of deeper going on under the surface of this movie. I mean, I'd really have to watch it again to get that. But it's a lot of fun. It's very kind of entertaining, and I don't know if there's a whole lot more to it than that necessarily.
Possibly. The most I can get out of it is like when you have like the politician characters and like their big thing is utilizing like kitsch and music stars to gain support for them. There's kind of in the vaguest sense, there's kind of a Clockwork Orange kind of vibe to it. Like at the ending of Clockwork Orange is the guy kind of like, you will be
okay. We're comparing Oh Brother, Where Art Thou to a Clockwork Orange. Stay with us, everybody.
No, in the vaguest, and just that idea, I know like Kubrick is just a completely different. Like this idea of just like politicians abusing and utilizing the superficial. Like you have like the man, like his whole thing is like he has the broom and he's gonna sweep things, and I think it has some things to say about artificiality and like how people abuse that. I have no fucking clue what it's about. What's trying to say about that. But like it's a Coen Brothers movie. We're just gonna have to do another deep dive into it at some point.
Yeah. Just one other interesting thing, like I was a little worried to watch this movie because like my parents both saw it at some point and they both hated it. Like my mom is a lot more aggressive about it, but like even my dad, who actually really enjoyed Big Lebowski and Fargo and some of the Coen Brothers other stuff, like he said he really did not like it either. So I'm not sure what it is about this movie that I mean my mom
reason or
my mom likes very few good movies. And doesn't really have a reason for hating things that she doesn't like. But I don't know. I don't know why my mom hates this movie. I should ask my dad why he didn't like it. But I mean,
that's not unlike my mother, who will watch any shitty Hallmark movie on the TV, but also adores Wes Anderson's Wes Anderson. My mother loves all Wes Anderson movies, so. So
very interesting.
The world we live in.
My mom, meanwhile, did not even like Fantastic Mr. Fox. So I doubt she'd much care for Grand Budapest Hotel or even Moonrise Kingdom.
I'm really curious, like, if you like, I want to try and find like getting like the most likable films you can find, and then trying to find people who don't like them.
Mm.
Like, I'm going to do that test of My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It's fun. I would never tell anyone not to watch it. If anything, come for the folk music soundtrack, because this movie's got a great soundtrack.
Well, this movie sounds great. The film looks great. I think.
Yeah.
I really love its like sepia toned view of the world. I like how when there is color, it really pops.
Also, like, aside from Big Lebowski and like maybe some of their earlier stuff, like this might be like the most exaggerated cinematography in any Coen Brothers movie, which I really enjoy.
I'm not sure. I'd still lean on like Big Lebowski for that sort of thing, but I think you can make an argument for that. Like, this movie's willing to go goofy.
Yeah.
I highly recommend Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? We're clearly not Coen Brothers fans.
Yeah, well, anyway.
Is there a Coen Brothers movie we don't like?
Not one that I've seen. There's ones that I'm like more lukewarm on, but just the ones that like people tend not to like, I've just kind of avoided. Like, I haven't seen Intolerable Cruelty. I haven't seen Burn After Reading. I haven't seen the Ladykillers.
I saw Burn After Reading. I really like Burn After Reading.
Burn After Reading is kind of going through like a renaissance, I think.
I think especially like I think one thing I remember is that there's a scene in that movie where like Frances McDormand and Brad Pitt go to the Russian embassy to try and get what they think are government secrets, and there is something satirical in this. I have to find it.
I think the closest one I think would be True Grit, which is a very good movie. It's definitely an above average movie. It's just I find it to be a below average Coen Brothers movie, because it's a very kind of straightforward, old fashioned Western. And I've really kind of just come to expect more from them.
Okay, I used to say that about A Serious Man, but I've really come around to A Serious Man the more I think about it. Honestly, I think that might be the best depression movie. Mm. That's what I really like. There are multiple ways to view that picture. Like, I think there's like excellent Nerd Writer video on it, but I think the depression lens of it, I think, fits it the best. I think, like, other than that, as far as I can't really think of I think maybe Blood Simple is the closest for me. Mm. Because I can't really think. There was some jaw-dropping sequences, like the scene where they're trying to bury the body, but he's still alive, and he's like trying to fight. Like, that's just really jaw-dropping. But overall, I'm not as sold on that movie as some of their other work.
I mean, it's their first movie, so it's got that kind of thing about it.
And I forgive it for that.
I really enjoy that, though. And then, when they come out of the next gate, like, swinging with Raising Arizona, so
I fucking love Raising Arizona.
And then Miller's Crossing, which I don't think you've seen, is just
I haven't seen
a powerhouse.
Maybe we just need like the set about like a month where we just try to watch every Coen Brothers movie we haven't seen.
I would not be opposed to that.
Because I'm just thinking, like, damn it, I don't think there is a Coen Brothers movie we don't like. I want to make this a mission.
Well, be careful, because people are pretty antipathetic about the Ladykillers. The
Ladykillers. Hey, who knows? Like, people seem apathetic about Burn After Reading, and I really adore that one. If anything, that might be. I think that might be one of theirs I like the most.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people tend to really not care so much about Hudsucker Proxy, but we both love the Hudsucker Proxy.
I am way on the Hudsucker Proxy train.
I can't wait for that to come out on Criterion.
Oh God, yeah, I think that's their finest work.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. One of theirs that I'm actually kind of interested in is called The Man Who Wasn't There. I think it stars.
I've heard some things about The Man Who Wasn't There, but I've never really looked into it.
Yeah, I think it stars like Billy Bob Thornton and Scarlett Johansson.
Ooh, what year did it come out?
2001, I want to say. Somewhere around there. I don't know. But that's our mini Coen Brothers segment.
I think the Coen Brothers, it's just really fascinating to talk about them because they're both really consistent and really unique.
Yeah.
Like, they always deliver, like, there's always that Coen Brothers vision where there's always, like, different lenses they can put on. I think they're really dynamic and fascinating filmmakers.
Yeah.
So I think onward to another dynamic and fascinating filmmaker.
Oh, yes. Alfonso Cuaron's 2006, I believe, masterpiece.
That sounds right.
Children of Men. What a fucking great movie. Okay, so this movie takes place in like a post-apocalyptic world where humanity can no longer have children, and then this one young woman is discovered to be pregnant, and our kind of everyman hero has to get her to safety. John, what are your thoughts on this?
I think, you know what? I think you can teach, if you want to do visual storytelling, and you want to teach children about visual storytelling, you just put the movie on, have them sit there, then you say, class dismissed, you all get an A. and everyone will now know how to do visuals, because it's almost textbook in like how it puts information in the background, in the foreground. Like, sometimes I think there's this great little video about, like, I think it might be the Nerd Writer video. I'm not quite sure.
I think it
like
is.
How like the camera will just veer off and show you images, and like, it is just a master class in visual filmmaking.
Yeah, I mean, I have some minor quibbles with this movie. I think, like, on a dialogue level, this is maybe not the best screenplay.
No,
but
I think it has its moments.
Yeah, it's very imaginative, and it has a lot of ideas behind it. Like, I would never say it's a bad screenplay by
no.
Like,
well,
my thing has always been, like, good dialogue can sometimes save a movie, but bad dialogue will almost never kill a movie.
And I can't really think of dialogue in this movie where I'm like, well, that's crap. Like, the most I can say, like, sometimes it just veers off into exposition.
Just some of those early scenes, I was watching them, and I'm like, this feels a little weird. And I guess it's because, like, they tend to be pretty expository, but as the movie goes on, it definitely gets stronger and stronger, and there's very palpable suspense. I think, like, there's like 2 long takes in this movie that everyone tends to talk about, but I really like that one in the middle of the movie where, like, they're sneaking out of that quote-unquote safe house and trying to steal the car. And, like,
that's great because it's really grounded. Yeah, it's like, it's not, like, that insane.
They keep the camera very low to the ground. There's, like, they're creeping around, and, like, you have it, like, spinning and, like, showing, like, where, like, you get a sense of the geography and where everything is, and it's very, very tense.
I think, especially after watching fucking Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, like, it is really refreshing to see a director who has a firm handle on spatial understanding. And like you were never lost in one of his scenes.
Yeah.
And I think I realized this in that scene where they have to get into the car and they have to get away, is that there is a really tangible but also fascinating sense of camera. In that it's almost like there is kind of like this third person. It's almost documentary like.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, it feels, I doubt it's actually Alfonso Cuarón behind the camera, but it feels like he's right there, and, like, he's this documentarian, and he's filming things, and he sometimes he'll just veer off, like, oh, that looks important, he'll just veer off and show you them throwing suitcases out of an apartment block. It's some of the most overt Holocaust imagery in the movie.
Well, with Emmanuel Lubezki, like, it's always a little bit hard to say, like, you know, how much of it, like, was the director and how much of it is him, because I'm sure Emmanuel Lubezki is a very kind of strong presence. However, this movie definitely feels like Alfonso Cuarón's movie, and I definitely think he probably has a much better handle on, and, like, is able to better express, like, what he wants and is more in control than with Lubezki than, say, Alejandro Iñárritu, who kind of just jacked Lubezki away from Cuarón and Terrence Malick and was like, oh, you're gonna work for me now, and to the point where the Revenant basically feels like it was at least half directed by Emmanuel Lubezki.
It's a Lubezki movie. It's sometimes just to its detriment. Alfonso Cuarón seems to have like this term, like, we will focus. There was like focusing. here. We're gonna show every long take feels very planned out and deliberate to the point where like I'm wondering like how many takes did this take? How did they do that?
Right.
Like it's a real technical showcase. I will say this. In the end, like I do have some of an issue with the ending. Insofar as like it ends with like main character's dead, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like, but then we have like the woman with the baby, and the tomorrow comes, and I just remember asking myself, what was the point to all this? I see all our pieces. I see what we're working with. I see we got all the Holocaust imagery, we got all the xenophobia, we got the immigrant stuff. That's all wonderful. We have the really harsh evocations of modern politics.
Yeah.
But what does it actually really add up to?
Well, I think it's kind of 1984-ish, except with a much more hopeful ending. And this movie was based on a book.
Okay.
So I
wasn't aware of that.
I'm not 100%. When you put it like that, like moment to moment, this movie is great, and you can clearly see all of the ideas that went into it. But I guess you kind of have a point that like when you're trying to look at like the accumulation and like what the ultimate like argument of the movie is,
like
maybe I'm not so sure about that.
Like there's this really fascinating scene where they go to the converted Battersea factory, and it has like all these works of art. You have like Michelangelo's David, and like you have Guernica in the background, and like you have the man with like little wires on his fence. Like, wow, this is all fascinating. This is all wonderful eye candy. This is fascinating. All the ideas behind it are fascinating. Like this is our last refuge of humanity's fruit. I mean, like, but what is he really saying about it? It's like a really well-written, really fascinating essay, but without a prompt, but without really an argument. Is he crying for more compassion? Is that it? Is he saying like, because like he gives us like, xenophobia, this is all bad, we're killing ourselves, and so, but like, what really is his answer to all this?
Well, maybe he doesn't have one. Like, do you have to always have an answer to these issues? I mean, this is like...
Yeah. Well, maybe you're right about that. Maybe my issue is more in its structure, because how it's fairly 3-act structure, mostly. The way it's presented and the way it's filmed, it feels very, like, episodic, and when we're kind of just going from wondrous set piece to wondrous set piece. And I'm thinking, like, what is really the overarching... And, like, each scene has, like, this wonderful... Like, each scene in itself is, like, a wonderful, wonderful movie. But when you just put it all together, really, what do you get?
Well, I think, honestly, maybe ultimately it's not really about anything more complicated than, like, the triumph of the human spirit. Like, you see the impact that, like, this baby and, like, a new human life like has on these people. Like there's that great scene where like they're walking out of the building with the crying baby, and like all the soldiers just stop firing, like it all just stops, and they just watch her go by, and then immediately like once they're past, like everybody starts shooting again. But
yes.
I don't know, like maybe it's putting some faith back in humanity a little bit.
That's true, and in today's modern context, that's wonderful. But I don't know. I think this movie is setting the seeds for something far more fascinating and far more dark. But I think it comes down to like, there still is hope. Like there is still like a humanity to look forward to. Like there is kind of this inner spirit. And I'm like, good for you, good message. But I'm like, I guess I just want a bit more. Maybe I should just be happy that its episodes are as great as they are. Because like in a day where in this shitty year for movies, maybe I should go like, you know what? It's like a technical showcase. Like you can teach this film in a fucking class. What like scene to scene, what it has to say is really fascinating.
Yeah.
And maybe I should just take it as it is and run with it.
It works just fine as like a pretty straightforward like action futuristic thriller.
If you just want to like, because here's the thing, you can say everything about the deeper meanings and the stuff, but honestly, this is a really fun movie.
Yeah, no, it's a great action movie.
Thrilling.
Yeah, like the action sequences, like they're all like big long take kind of very tense, very well orchestrated stuff going on.
Immaculately staged, immaculately constructed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's what I think people see the really sad poster and all the sad things people read into it. I think some people do have this impression oh, it's an art house movie. And it kind of is in some ways, but this is, I think, if you were to classify it as anything, is an action movie.
Well, you have to remember Alfonso Cuaron made Gravity. Alfonso Cuaron, I think, is an entertainer.
Yeah, he is. I think he has interesting things to say, but ultimately is hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this big tracking shot of everything's crashing into each other?
And that's okay, because he's a lot smarter about it, and he has a lot more his tracking shots definitely have a purpose, which is something with the Revenant that I did not get. I'm really not sure why that movie is shot the way it is, and this movie, I think it works a lot better and seems to make a lot more sense.
Oh yeah, I guess. Well, I've often whenever sometimes we bring up craftsmen, strictly craftsmen directors, and I typically say okay, they exist because they're not really doing anything that impressive. They're just well constructed. Whereas this Alfonso Cuarón is a craftsman with genuinely impressive things to bring. His films are genuinely impressing and genuinely involving.
Yeah.
Do we have anything as far as outside this say?
I don't know. I think this is still a very kind of thematically rich movie. I think it's a movie that will definitely stand the test of time, and
it already has.
Yeah. I think in 20 years, people will look back and say, how is this movie not more popular and acclaimed when it was released?
Mm-hmm.
So
I think I will not episode to episode. This movie has some really rich things, some really fascinating ideas, and honestly, it fucking sticks with you.
Yeah.
You remember the camera veering off. You remember all the wacky set pieces they throw you into. You fucking remember that opening shot where he just leaves the cafe and it blows up. Yeah.
And yet another movie that has abruptly and unexpectedly become maybe more relevant than ever.
Yeah, like I said before, 2 years ago I would have said oh, this is just really on the nose and ham-handed. Where now I'm saying, oh shit, he's right.
This movie takes place in Britain. Post-Brexit, this movie is fascinating to look at.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's certainly something now more than ever. It's fascinating. It's and really worth study.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. So I think it's suffice it to say we recommend Children of Men,
if nothing else.
Yeah. Do we want to move on to next week's docket?
Next week's docket.
Next week.
So there's been a lot of things we've been kind of talking about. It did occur to me, I am only off. My Christmas break is only 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, we definitely want to see La La Land and talk about that. We'll probably pair that up with Whiplash.
Then we're definitely marking out a spot. Are we definitely marking out a spot for Paul Thomas Anderson week?
I would like to, yeah.
I want to too. I want to see Boogie Nights.
We can finally get that out of the way. Something else I wanted to look at, just because Rogue One is coming out. Its release date approacheth. And I just wanted to use that as an excuse to watch Akira Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress.
Okay, yeah, I'd be willing. I don't think I've ever seen a Kurosawa movie.
I have not either.
Do we want to pair that up with Rashomon? Because that's only 90 minutes.
I would, yes, be super down for that.
Yeah, Kurosawa is especially considering how much I hold up foreign films. That's a blind spot in my film watching repertoire.
Yeah.
And I can bitch about how much I do. As cold as you are to Fantastic Beasts, I think I might even be colder with Rogue One. Like,
to be clear, I am equally skeptical about Rogue One.
Okay. Gee, are they gonna steal the wins to the Death Star?
Look,
like, as cold as I am towards Episode 7, at least, like, that's, like, a continuation of, like, this great cultural icon. At least that has, like, it's, like, it has the original cast. I can go, okay, I can see why this exists. I can completely rationalize Episode 7. With this, like, I can just see nothing but we want to make Star Wars movies.
Well, the thing with Rogue One, like, the early trailers had me pretty optimistic because it at least looked like it was going to be something different. Mm-hmm. Now, post reshoots and post replacing the composer because of the change in tone of the movie, and post Tony Gilroy taking over, like, supervising everything, I am very concerned. The new trailers are selling a much more fun, kind of Guardians of the Galaxy type of vibe, as opposed to the early one, which was like, ooh boy, it's going to be like a war movie, guys. Like, it's going to be fun. It could be rated R. Like, no. It's, I am very skeptical about Rogue One at this point.
At this point, I'm just saying, like, I'll have to see it because it's just the Marvel movie thing where it's like, yeah, what do we go out to see when you're with friends? I don't know. Oh, look, there's a new Star Wars picture. You gotta see that to talk about it.
I've been burned a few too many times, but I'm going to give it a chance because I would like to see how this whole enterprise of Star Wars spin-offs goes. I'm still holding out hope for Episode 8 because I like Rian Johnson a lot.
I can see that perception of, like, and I was with people on this after coming out of Episode 7. It's like seeing it as the springboard, but seeing where all the Marvel movies have gone, I'm thinking, like, even if you do have a much better director, are they actually going to do anything interesting? Will they let him step out of the fucking box?
It's an apt question, but we will see.
Yeah, like, I'm highly skeptical and, like, everything. Like, a Star Wars story! Like, that pisses me off to no end.
Look, like, suffice it to say, I am with you all the way on your cynicism and skepticism about Rogue One. So we will see how that plays out. But let's watch The Hidden Fortress. We'll also watch Rashomon. It's Kurosawa week. Let's have a good time.
Let's watch an acclaimed Japanese director that has gone under the radar.
Yes.
Right. Now you can buy even more Criterion Collection DVDs.
I need to stop. I have gone very overboard with the money spending this semester, and I need to scale it back.
I will say, I agree with you, there will be a day where, like, all those streaming sites just go down. And, like, the only way we'll be able to see movies is through physical media.
And then I will be vindicated.
And you will be vindicated. I hope I don't have to live for that day, but...
Joy.
Oh, just lots of joy.
Encouraging. I hope we'll have time to watch a 2.5-hour movie when we're all working over...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be quite as, like, Black Friday is just a unique shit show.
That's true. I haven't shown you any of my films from this semester, have I?
No, I don't think you have. You said you were editing. You have to edit something later today.
Yeah, I'm working on. I'm starting to edit my final project for my production class. So we'll see how that turns out.
Are all these things you've written, directed, so on and so forth?
Yeah.
The proper auteurist.
Yes. They're all on my Vimeo page. I can send you a link.
Hey.
Shameless plug.
But, like, we're going way off the rails as far as shit is going.
I mean, it's fine, because when it's just you and I, these episodes tend to be a lot shorter, so...
Yeah.
Can you get some more light in your room? I cannot see you at all right now.
I cannot be a man of shadows.
There's a difference between shadows and pitch black.
How fucking well's this shit? Oh, fuck. That master masterwork of cinema.
Remember when we thought that was going to win all the Oscars?
Did we ever think that?
People were saying that like right after it premiered at Sundance because we were right in the middle of the Oscars so white thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was like, "Oh, this is going to be the saving grace of the Oscars."